Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the second in our Savvy Social Security series. It's a lot of S's. My name is Christina Clem. I'm with the AARP Washington State Office, and we have Washingtonians across the state joining today's call. So if you'd like to drop your name and location in the chat, we'd love to say hi. So today, obviously, we're talking about Social Security. Social Security is our money. We've earned it by working hard and paying into it over the course of our careers. And this year, Social Security turns 90 years old. And it's more than a milestone. It's a reminder that Social Security remains a lifeline that impacts families across the state, allowing them to live a better and more fulfilling life in retirement. Each month, more than 1.4 million Washingtonians are counting on that monthly payment check. So today, we're going to talk about how Social Security extends beyond the actual worker to protect family members. Now, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because my family actually knows firsthand how important survivor payments can be to make ends meet. As a young child, we relied on Social Security survivor payments when my mother passed away at 32. So without that support, my father would have had a hard time paying medical bills, meeting the mortgage payment when we found ourselves on a single family income with two kids. So if you would like to know more about how your spouse can maximize their payments, what the eligibility criteria are for family payments, how survivor payments work, you are in the right place. We are pleased today to welcome Social Security technical expert Jammie Lyell, who will shed some light on how Social Security benefits can support your spouse and family, as well as take your questions about the topic. Prior to joining AARP, Jammie was a technical expert with the Social Security Administration. And within AARP, he now spearheads initiatives at AARP designed to enhance Social Security for millions of Americans. Jammie, thank you for being with us today.
Happy to be here.
Before we begin, I want to let you know we want this to be an interactive conversation. So we'll be pausing along the way to take your questions. So if you have a question that you would like answered, please enter it into the Q&A box, which should be located along the bottom of the toolbar on your computer screen. If you can't find it, it should say a little box with a question mark that says Q&A. And if you can't find it, you can put it in chat. We'll be monitoring both, so it's totally fine. So, Jammie, let's turn to you to begin the conversation. Or wait, do you want to do our poll question? Want to do our quiz first?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to do a quiz. How long must a marriage have lasted for a divorced spouse to potentially qualify for Social Security payments on their ex-spouse's records? Your choices are 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, or 15 years. So you can go ahead, click, or put your answer in the chat. We can kind of check and see what y'all think. Oh, Jammie, we got some smart people here.
I
I
see.
got
I'm
this
looking at the
question
phone.
wrong when I got the question wrong when we first talked about it.
Yeah. Hey.
So there you go. The answer, right, Jammie, is 10 years. I think most
Yes.
people know that. Good job, everyone. You can go off
Relax.
the call now. No, just kidding. Stay here. We have a lot more to talk about. So, Jammie, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to begin the presentation.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. So we're here to talk about how can Social Security protect your loved ones. Just in case if it's your first time at one of these series, just a little bit quick about myself. So I do presentations for Social Security on behalf of AARP, and it really allows me to combine heart and purpose, educating in the classroom and showing care in the community. So let's get on to the presentation. So first, you may not be able to predict the future, but with Social Security, you can help protect your family from it. And with that, I want to get into family payments. They offer a peace of mind If peace of mind was a currency, Social Security would be the safest investment you can make for your loved ones. And who can collect on your Social Security? When you start receiving Social Security retirement payments, some members of your family also may qualify to receive payments on your record. With certain requirements, children, spouses, ex-spouses, and survivors can receive Social Security payments on your record. First, I want to start with children payments. The children of retired, deceased, and disabled workers, in many cases, can collect Social Security payments on a parent's earnings record. Social Security incorporates children into its payment structure to help retirees with younger children provide for their families and as a form of insurance when a parent dies or can't work because of a disability. Within your family, each qualified child may receive a monthly payment up to half of your full retirement age payment. To be eligible for this, your child must meet certain qualifications. For your children to receive payments, they must be unmarried and under the age 18 or 18 to 19 years old and a full-time student up to grade 12, or 18 or older and a disabled prior to age 22. However, there is a limit to the amount of Social Security can pay your family members, children, and others. The total amount of the payment depends on the number of family members who also qualify on your record. And that total does vary, but generally the total amount your family can receive is about 150 to 180% of your full retirement age payment. Next, I want to talk about spousal payments. If you don't have enough Social Security credits to get payments on your own work record, or your own retirement payment is small, you may be able to receive payments as a spouse. It is important to note that if both you and your spouse are eligible for Social Security payments on your own records, Social Security will pay you whichever amount is higher, but not both. So you cannot double dip. Eligible spouses can generally receive 50% of the eligible worker's full retirement age payment amount. Even if the working spouse collects early, the spousal payment will still be a portion of the worker's full retirement age payment. If you're still married, you can only file for a spousal payment once the working spouse has filed for their own payment. You must be married for at least 1 year and 62 years of age or older, or you can claim at any age if you're caring for a child under the age of 16 or a child with a disability who is entitled to payments on your spouse's record. Can't talk about spouse without talking about ex-spouse. So ex-spouses can receive payments on their former spouse's record if they were married at least 10 years. Ex-spouses may file at any time beginning at age 62 and do not need to notify the ex-spouse that they have filed. Eligible ex-spouses can generally receive 50% of the eligible worker's full retirement age payment amount. Even if the former spouse collects early, the ex-spouse's payment will still be a portion of the former spouse's full retirement age payment. Ex-spousal payments do not affect the ex-spouse's payment. So when you claim for your ex-spousal payment, it will not reduce the other's work record amount. And you're eligible to receive payments on an ex-spousal record if you are an ex-spouse who receives his or her own Social Security payments, or is at least 62 and have been divorced for at least 2 years. So you are not, or sorry, you are at least 62 and you have not remarried. It is important to note that if both you and your ex-spouse are eligible for Social Security payments on your own records, Social Security will pay you whichever amount is higher. Again, you cannot double dip. And I've talked about spouse and ex-spouse. I want to go into survivor payments next. In the event of a spouse's death, a survivor can collect up to 100% of the payment the deceased was receiving or would have received in the future. This will include any delayed retirement credits the deceased has earned. However, it will also include a reduction if the deceased spouse claims early. Survivor
Mhm.
payments can be claimed as early as age 60, age 50 if disabled, but that will come with that payment will be reduced. They can also be claimed at any age if the survivor is caring for an entitled child. Dependent parents may also be eligible to collect if the deceased parents can show that they relied on their child for at least half of their support. Uh,
Mm.
Ex-spouses may also be eligible if the former spouse was at least 60 or 50 to 59 if disabled. They were married at least 10 years and have not remarried unless they remarried after 60. Survivor payments are only reduced based on when the survivor payment itself is claimed. In many situations, the surviving spouse can continue collecting on their own record to allow the survivor payment to grow until they reach full retirement age. The survivor is still subject to the earnings limit if they haven't yet reached their full retirement age and continue to work. And if you're born on or after 1960, your full retirement age is 67. Just a little bit more on survivor payments. If you're already receiving spousal payments, Social Security will typically switch you to survivor payments automatically upon the spouse's death. If not automatically converted, apply by calling the Social Security Administration at the 1-800 number you see here on the screen, or visit a local Social Security field office. I will say what I've seen in the past is that if you receive that death record or that record of death and the funeral director is responsible for sending that to Social Security Administration, save yourself some time and a headache and also forward a copy to the administration yourself, just in case. There are some special circumstances for survivor payments. No length of marriage requirement if the death was accidental or occurred in the line of U.S. military duty. And again, remarrying before age 60 or 50 if disabled affects eligibility, but remarrying at or after this age does not. And I want to just go to the questions. I know we want to have a discussion, so I'm pretty sure I have questions to come. So any questions for me?
Yeah, actually, I've got a question because you
Yes.
referenced something that I had never heard of, which is dependent parents. Can you explain a little bit more about what that circumstance might be with the dependent parent?
Yes. So first you have to prove that you received more than half or half at least of dependency from your child. The deceased
Okay.
may have been providing at least half of the parent's financial support when they passed away, unfortunately. The parent must be at least age 62. The parent must not be eligible for a higher Social Security benefit on their own record. The parent must be unmarried since the worker's death, unless the remarriage happened after age 60, as we discovered. And the deceased child must have worked long enough under Social Security to qualify for benefits.
Got it. Thanks.
Yes.
So I do have some questions here. I do want to remind everybody who's joining us online, if you've got a question for Jammie and we covered a lot of information, please just go ahead and type it into either the chat box or the Q&A box. We can see it on our end. JC, I wanted to start with a question about spousal benefits. We've got a question from Jim in Kirkland. Um, can a spouse receive benefits if they are still working?
Yes, the spouse can receive benefits if they're still working, but you want to just pay attention that if you're under your full retirement age, which is somewhere between 66 or 67, that might come with some reductions, because there is a limit on how much you can make.
And that is the difference where you do have to actually get some reduced benefits and then also pay some taxes still in Social Security until you yourself reach full retirement age. Is that correct?
Correct.
Kind of. Okay. See, I'm learning. We're learning something every day. Um, so for family benefits, I've got a question here.
Okay.
Are there limits on the amount of benefits a family can receive collectively?
That's a great question. Yes. So what you have is what they call a primary insurance amount. This is what the main worker or the claimant will receive. This is what they receive, but there's a separate bucket called the family maximum. Let's just say, for example, it's $2,000.
Mhm.
So if you have a spouse, they can receive up to that 2,000 or of that amount. But if a kid comes on, or even another spouse in certain circumstances, then they will have to split this amount. This amount
Okay.
then be split amongst how many are actually claiming of that 2,000, and it'll be spread out evenly.
See, that's good. Um, I've got also a couple of questions
Awesome.
about, oh, here we got a question from Rick. Rick wants to know, what should someone do if they haven't received, oh, this is the increase from the Social Security Fairness Act. Um, a friend is a teacher affected by the WEP GPO, but hasn't yet received a catch-up payment or increased monthly benefit.
And that's a great question. I know it's not the topic of today, but I know that's really recent. So if you haven't received a payment due to the Social Security Fairness Act, the best thing to do is first open a My SSA account via login.gov. So that's login.gov. Go online, see if there's any notifications or anything about that payment. Make sure the direct deposit information is up to date, address is up to date. Also, you can reach out to the Social Security Administration directly with that 1-800 number. That will be the best way. Or you can even set up an appointment to go in the field office if you are one of those individuals that like to do things face to face.
I'm gonna pop that social security number or phone number in the chat once we got a chance. But I've got another question. Vicky has sent in a question. If I can move the chat, there you go. Vicky says she has an adult son with disability. She is in the process of taking SSDI for herself. Does that mean whoop, move. Uh, He will be eligible for these SSDI funds too. He currently receives SSI. So I know there's Social Security disability insurance. So maybe you can kind of parse out what those are for us.
Yeah, so first for your son, if he is on technically what they call a DAC, which is a disabled adult child. To receive those benefits, again, he has at least he would have had to have that disability before the age of 22 and meet the Social Security Administration's definition of disability for adults, which is a lot of different options under the Social Security, what they call the Blue Book. He also has to be unmarried. Um, and then, of course, you would be having to receive disability benefits. For them, the difference between that and SSI is there for individuals with limited income. But if he does qualify as a DAC and under your work record or your disability record, then more often than not, he will possibly receive more by switching over to your disability record. When you apply for your disability, make sure that you note that you have a child that you want to claim on there as well. And Social Security will do the calculation on which one is higher. Um, More often than not, as I said, he will receive more on the disability claim versus the SSI.
That's great. Thanks, Jamie. And Vicky, thank you for that question. I hope that was helpful. Um, so Sandra has got a question in here, and it's something that I was going to ask as well, because Jamie, we've had some conversations before, and there were some questions, like there are some people who have been married multiple times, and so
Correct.
the ex-spouse situation, and you covered it, but maybe we can reiterate. Sandra wants to know, how do we find out if we want to claim ex-husband's money versus her money, which is more. So, Sandra, maybe is it maybe how she finds out like which would be the better one for her? I know you said you
Yeah.
don't have to tell your ex-spouse that you're going to start claiming. So,
Yeah. So, Social Security actually takes a lot of that work on for you for your benefit. You will want to have your marriage certificate or any documentation that you have that you were married for at least 10 years, again, 10 years, and your ex-spouse's Social Security number. And from there, once you apply for your benefit, you can apply for the ex-spouse benefit as well. Social Security does require you or suggest that you apply for everything that you're entitled to. And then Social Security will then do the calculation on your behalf and give you the higher of either or. So
that's
all you need is the
helpful.
documentation and the Social Security number for the most part.
Perfect. Thanks for that question, Sandra. I hope that was helpful. Keep the questions coming, folks. You can either, there's a Q&A box somewhere at the bottom of the screen. There's also a chat box. Doesn't matter where you want to put your question in. I've got both things up on my screen and I can read both of them right now. But I did want to ask a question on the survivor payments for children or families for survivor payments. So, what steps should a family take to claim survivor benefits? Like, what should they have prepared? That kind of information.
Right. And that's a great question. What you really want, what usually the steps to claim survivor benefits is usually the funeral home will report the death to SSA. If you provide this deceased social security number, again, I always recommend to also send that death record to Social Security as well, just so they can get it. There's nothing wrong with them getting it twice. Um, Again, you can call what the 1-800, and that number is 1-800-772-1213 to basically ask these questions. But you want to get the proof of death, your birth certificate, marriage certificate for spouses, social security's numbers, and that's yours and the deceased. If there's a dependent child, you want to get their birth certificate and their social security number. And then, of course, you want your bank account information for direct deposit.
Perfect.
I would like to highlight that you cannot apply for online for survivor benefits. Um,
Okay.
so you want to call that 1-800 number to schedule an appointment or visit the local Social Security field office.
That's important information. Actually, while we're on that, Jamie, do you, off the top of your head, as a super Social Security expert, do you kind of have a rundown of like what things you actually can do over the phone and like what things you have to like actually like make an appointment and go into the office to do?
Yes, so online you can view your benefit statement. You can look at your earnings history. You can replace a social security card as well. Update your information. Um, some things you can't do online. It's again apply for survivor benefits. Sometimes you can't submit original documents, such as like the death certificate, the birth certificate, the marriage certificates. They need to be reviewed in person or mailed in. And
Okay.
anything that requires a real person's help, like if you have a very specific situation and you need real-time answers from an expert, that is something you want to go into the field office for. Definitely.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Jamie.
Yes.
Want to go back a little bit before we talked about the different types of survivor benefits. Can you
Yes.
explain kind of what is the difference, and maybe it's monetary um, or procedural, but what is the difference between survivor payments for a spouse and then survivor payments for a child? Like, is the dollar amount calculated a little bit differently? Kind of those type of situations.
Yeah, so there's no difference for the child or the spouse. Um, there's still up to 100% of the
Okay.
deceased work record. Um, really the difference is just how you apply for it. I will say, of course, in person or by phone with the birth certificate and SSN. Um, I guess with the child benefits, since they are considered a child, child earnings don't affect benefits. That's one little nuance that usually doesn't come up. But of course, for the spouse, earnings may reduce the benefit if they're under the full retirement age. I would
Okay.
like to highlight if you are at your full retirement age, 66 or 67, you can work as much as you want, with no reductions.
Right. That's important. That's something that I think even us who I've been with AERP for 21 years, you think I'd know Social Security backwards and forwards. But there I can still be stumped. I guess that's maybe a good thing. That was something that we did. Like you can, well, you do get some ding on Social Security payments if you work before. Once you're past retirement age, you can work as much. I don't think all of us want to work a whole bunch, but you
Yeah,
can if you
yeah.
need to. I've got a clarification question, Jamie, maybe you can help us with. This is from Cassidy. Uh,
Okay.
just a clarification. When claiming an ex-spouse's Social Security payments, it will not impact what the ex-spouse is receiving for themselves through Social Security. Is that correct?
Correct. If you want to think about it, and the easiest way to remember what they receive is in their own bucket, and what any family member or dependent receive is a completely separate bucket. So they don't pull from each other.
I'm gonna follow up on that, Cassidy. I'm gonna follow up on your question, Cassidy. Um, does the ex-spouse like just never know that you're claiming under their social security? Like, do they, I mean, I know you don't need their permission, but like are they notified at some point? Because I know like remarriage, changes things. How under the radar can you go for that, I guess?
Yeah. So Social Security won't inform the ex that you apply or you begin receiving benefits based on their earnings record. Um, and again, it doesn't affect what they're receiving. Um, I'm trying to think if there's ever an instance where they would find out. Because I mean, you get statements, you get information, but
Mhm.
it probably would be later down the line if they found out. Um, it's not something that Social Security would notify them about. Maybe if,
Okay.
like, in a certain example, if they for some odd reason had a dependent child, um,
Okay.
and then the child wants to claim, and then that particular worker was like, "Why is my child not receiving as much as I thought?" And maybe down that
Got it.
it might come up.
Oh,
Maybe.
that's an important thing because, the child survivor payments are a little bit less, right? It's like a half type thing you had mentioned,
Right.
of what their full would be. Okay.
Up to 75% for a child. So the
Okay.
only in that instance, I mean, I know the worker would unfortunately be deceased, but if as far as survivor payments goes,
Okay.
someone would have to find out. But as far as ex-spouse, um, like the worker still living,
Yeah.
if that spouse had a child and they found out that way, because the numbers didn't add up.
Got it. Got it. Follow-up question
Yes.
on all the paperwork that you need to have in your hot little hands in order to make this happen. Sandra has a follow-up. Must you provide divorce decree as well as the need for the marriage certificate to claim Social Security payments for an ex-spouse?
I would submit that, definitely
Okay.
to divorce decree, and just submit all the information, because you don't want to have everything done, they're ready to go, and then they need one piece of paperwork, and it takes, I don't know, 4 months for them to let you know they need the paperwork.
Right. Never overshare. Like you just send
Overshare.
it all and say,
Yes.
take what you need. I like
Yes.
that. I like that. Okay. You're welcome, Sandra. I see you said thanks in the
And
chat. No
you can
problem.
also fax things to Social Security, certain documents, so that kind of helps as well.
What? There's fax machines still out there? That's
Somewhere,
crazy talk. Somewhere. Somewhere
an
there's
app or
fax
something.
machines.
It's an app somewhere.
So we still have some time to take questions. If anyone has any, feel free to pop them into the chat. I did make kind of a list of questions for my own. Um,
Mhm.
let's see. Uh, what else? Oh, we kind of touched on, maybe we can revisit this as well. Are there any specific age requirements for a spouse to start receiving benefits? So say, my husband was 65, but I'm only 50 or 52. Is there any kind of age limit, or you have to get to a certain age in order to take advantage of um, spousal payments?
And this is for spousal or ex-spousal?
Spouse. Spouse.
Yep. And I make sure I'm a visual learner. I still have the slides up just in case if anyone wants to look visually. But
There
yes,
you
to
go.
be eligible, married at least 1 year and be at least age 62. Um,
62.
but
Got
that
it.
last bullet right there, any age if you are caring for a child under 16 or a child with a disability. And remember, if the disability started before the age of 22.
That is so important. I think back, to my family situation. My mom was 32 when she passed. My dad was 33 and he had two small kids. So, um, yeah, like good to know that if, as people are having kids later and later, we have kind of younger kids in the household these
Yeah.
days. So it's good to know that um, Social Security has thought of that. Look at
Yeah.
that. Look at
Because
the
if
designed.
you have a child, I mean, and you're 40, by the time they reach 20, you're 60,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
possible.
I've got some friends who are in their early 50s and have 3 and 4 year olds that they
Oh,
adopted.
wow.
So
Congrats
I
to
know
them.
I will be helping them as they go on. We digress. Sorry, guys. Jamie and I are just going to have a little chat here. Tracy put in, aw, thanks, Tracy. Tracy just put a comment in. Thanks for the advocacy that AARP is doing for Social Security and Medicare. Thank you. We are fighting the good fight. And I will say, I'm going to say thank you to all of you guys, because while there's a lot that we can do on our end when it comes to lobbying, you guys contacting your elected officials has so much power. And I want to say we kind of tallied up some of the actions that have been taken so far this year, like with the phone stuff. And I think last I checked, there were like 3 million AARP members have contacted their elected officials about this. So thank you guys for doing it. We say it often, but there's stuff that we can do, but you have so much more power when you're talking to your elected officials as their constituents. So thank you. We're gonna keep doing it.
Hmm.
Um, oh, yeah, your dad was 57 when you were born. Wow, there you go. Man, I bet he was tired after a while. Looking. I don't see any other questions. Anybody? We're gonna kind of maybe do um a final call out here before we begin to wrap up?
I will share, since no one's asked the question. It's always my favorite question as of right now.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
please.
you can, more than one ex-spouse can claim on one record. If for some reason that the person was married more than one time, even up to 3 times, more than 10 years in each marriage, all the ex-spouses can claim. And then if you are over the age of 60, 61, let's just say, then you can claim on your ex-spouse and your current spouse and see which one is better for you. So I know no one asked that question, but always good.
No, that's great. I mean, these are like little nuggets of information that I don't think we would know.
Yeah. So 10 years
Uh, 10,
is
10 years. So
important.
if
And
you marry
yep.
at 20, divorce at 30, marry at 31, divorce at 41, marry at 42, and divorce at 52,
Yeah.
have it.
I always
right?
share that me and my wife are coming up on our 10-year anniversary, so we make our own little inside jokes. We're only a couple months away from 10 years.
And she's like, it's been fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, here's one that's not quite, but it's important these days. Vicky wants to know any tricks, Jammie, that you can give to schedule in-person Social Security appointments. I know
Hmm.
that can be kind of tricky
Specific
these days.
for the in-person, not too sure, but I can say, since it's only us on the call,
Hmm.
um, that if you can prove or state the term dire need, so that's DIRE, dire
Hmm.
need, usually that gets your case or your claim bumped up to a manager. And then it becomes a manager to manager case. And then it's someone in headquarters that's all they work on is manager to manager cases.
You
So
heard it. You heard it
need.
here, folks. Dire
we'll
need.
we'll get your case and claim looked at a lot quicker.
That's great. Thank you, Jammie.
Yep.
See, lots of tips and tricks, guys. That's why we're doing this here. Um, well, we're kind of coming up on the end. So I just wanted to say, on behalf of AARP Washington, I just want to thank all of you guys for taking part in today's discussion and joining us. I know you have lots of ways to choose how to spend your day, so we appreciate that you chose to spend part of your morning with us. And I also want to say thank you to Jammie Lyell, who has explained things that we sometimes didn't even know to ask. So I think that's why it's really important that we're go ahead and doing this series. As a reminder, so this is a three-part series. This is the second part. We have one more that we're doing next month on July 22nd, which will be the final session where we're going to talk about getting the best bang for your buck and maximizing your Social Security payments. So if you have not registered to attend that event in July, we're going to, I think, pop it here in the chat box so you can see it. And then we're also going to be doing a follow-up email to everyone who registered, and we can include that information and some of the resources that we talked about today in that email. Jammie, thank you so much. Jammie is joining us from Washington, D.C., so he's like kind of past lunchtime here. So we really appreciate Jammie stepping into the West Coast time to come and chat with us today. If we weren't able to get to your questions, or if we turn this thing off and all of a sudden you have a question that you wish you had asked, we do have some resources for you. So there is a website that AARP has. It's called Your Questions Answered, and the website is answers.aarp.org. Or if you want to send an email, there is actually an email that you can submit the question to. And that email is ssqa at aarp.org. So Social Security Q&A, ssqa at aarp.org. And Jammie, can you tell us a little bit about maybe where some of those things go when they put those questions in?
Yep. So if you ask that question will come to me or one of our other Social Security subject matter experts, and we'll reply to you via email. You can actually reply right back if you have a follow-up question.
That is awesome, guys. That's fantastic. Thanks for letting us know. Well, now, if you guys would like to learn more about AARP's efforts to protect and strengthen Social Security, you mentioned we've been doing a lot over the last few months and we're not going to slow down. You can visit us online at aarp.org/Social Security. And that link, like I said, we'll also put that in the follow-up email to everyone who registered. So again, I'm Christina Clem. I'm with AARP Washington. We're in the SeaTac area in Washington State. We actually do have a local office. I can tell you where to park at the airport across the street. If you're headed into the office, I can tell you whether level 3, 4, or 5. is where you can park your car because we watch planes take off behind us all the time. So thank you so much, everyone, for spending part of your day with us. And goodbye for now.